Ziggurat is a fun game to play in short bursts, but it falls victim to its repetitive nature. You take on the task of finding your way through a randomly generated maze of enemies and dangers. Though the rooms are different on each playthrough, the variety between them is a bit lacking. Most of the time, the goal is to kill all enemies and proceed to the next room, but sometimes you will be collecting shards or destroying obelisks. To find the next level, you have to first find the portal key which summons the level's boss, and then defeat the boss. In this way, you can either rush through, or you can thoroughly explore. This essentially determines the difficulty, as the more you explore, the more you'll level up and possibly find more power-ups. Other rooms may have hazards, such as lava pits or spikes, and pillars that release shockwaves, and others include light platforming, like hopping on moving platforms and hopping from beam to beam while booby traps fire arrows across the room. These offer a welcome break from the monotonous strafe shooting you do in the kill all enemies rooms, but there's not that many different ones, and they're not all that hard, only being tense if you're at very low health. If there were more types of these hazard rooms, it would make the replayability so much stronger. There's also shrine rooms which you can offer some of your magic or your life for a reward, and you can offer nothing but might risk taking a punishment instead of a reward. Certain secret rooms that are hidden on the map offer an incentive for exploring and seeking them out, giving you a bonus power-up that's usually received only on leveling up. Leveling up is one of the strongest points in this game, offering you 2 randomly chosen perks, but not all of them are just upgrades. Some of them require a sacrifice, like get rid of one of your weapons to strengthen the rest. There's even a perk that lets you choose from more perks once you level up instead of just 2. There's a lot to choose from, and unlocking them feels rewarding. You can even select a perk that you have already chosen this run and make its effects stronger, though only if it shows up again. Leveling up comes from collecting experience gems that enemies drop. In this way, instead of just getting them from killing monsters, you also have to physically move to the gem, and this creates a risk-reward scenario, but it doesn't add to the fun factor. Sometimes enemies will leave a pool of acid after they die, so you have to wait for the opportune moment to get to your loot. The controls are wonderfully simple, and they offer 3 different methods of switching weapons, which is appreciated and accounts for anyone's playstyle. I don't like how you can get upgrades to make your character be able to move around more, but it never really comes into play with the platforming. Like, there's never anything that's out of reach and you have to level up your character to be able to reach it, so I feel like they missed a point there. There are over a dozen characters to unlock, and they all have different strengths and weaknesses, some being more clearly defined than others. Requirements for unlocking them are very clear though, and don't ever feel out of reach. You'll need all of them if you want the Platinum Trophy. This is plentiful and almost overabundant, but it gives you another thing to unlock and works towards extending the playtime. If each character had more of a backstory, then it would be more pleasurable to use them all, but since there's little lore given to the characters, you'll probably just find one you like and stick to it. At first, the enemy types feel plenty, but after playing more, you get tired of seeing the same enemies over and over. Some enemies are just variations of others, like carrots and peppers, or yellow slimes and blue slimes, and some bosses are just variations on normal enemies. My favorite enemy is this golem guy. His attack is simple, he just punches the ground and sends out a shockwave, but if he's nearby a statue of Atlas, it can knock the globe off its shoulders, but this isn't really amazing. You can knock it off with your light attack, so I don't know what other enemies can do this as well. But it's cool, and you wish there was more environmental interactivity like this, and it ultimately just feels like a tease. Bosses are challenging, but they all do the same thing really, which is summon minions and have a few projectile attacks. The boss that feels the most different to me is Lady Audrey, and she's a plant type that summons stationary plant limbs all around the arena and has an impenetrable shield. In this way, Lady Audrey is the most unique boss, and you long for other bosses to be more like that. It just feels like you fight the same bosses over and over, and if they added just a few more, it could help the game greatly. The controls are all intuitive and movement is fluid, though when you sprint there is motion blur. Thankfully there's an option for turning it off, and it helped me feel better. I really suggest messing with the graphics settings because it can help you enjoy the game a little more. On top of your base weapon, which refills ammo automatically, you can carry 3 other weapons, each with their own ammo stock: orange, green, and blue. There are books, staves, bombs, and pistols to collect, and there are varying power. Some fire in different ways. Throwing a bomb can actually hurt you, and this makes them feel unique. You will also really need to use all of your weapons as rooms get tougher. You may be able to get by the first couple of levels just using your wand, but you'll be overwhelmed on tougher stages. On top of these weapons, you also have one amulet at a time that offers something like increased attack speed for a short duration. Once you use it, it has to recharge. There are many to pick from, and saving them for tense situations is advised. The gameplay ends up being repetitive, and you'll mostly be doing strafing to dodge enemies and walking backwards while constantly firing. This gets old, and you wonder what it would be like if you had the option to melee attack. But where this game shines is its collectibles. You have different characters to collect, different pieces of lore to find, a bunch of different weapons, a bunch of different level up perks and amulets. Some of these feel rule bending, and it's really fun to see what you'll get next. Rooms where you just kill enemies offer a little variation with special rules. Sometimes the room will have rules like you can only fire while you're jumping in the air, or your wand does more damage, or the enemies are stronger. And sometimes you'll go into a room and there's like a visual change, and there will be like just blurry graphics, or the enemies will be larger or smaller. And these don't really help the game be more fun, but they do change it up a little bit. The trophy list itself is fun to work through and inspires creative play, but you'll have to swallow your pride and die 50 times if you want them all. There's also one that requires you to speedrun the game in 45 minutes, and that gives you an idea of how repetitive the game can be, and that you're able to beat a playthrough in less than an hour. But still, it can pack quite a bit of fun into that playthrough. The music isn't all that great. It doesn't really pump you up to clear through all these dungeons, and the sound design is actually kind of bad in some places. There's one enemy in particular, it's like a ghost, and she just wails every time she attacks, and when there's multiple of them in the same room, it just layers on top of each other and gets annoying. There's also one weapon you have that just is really loud when you use it, and it's uncomfortable to use because of that, and they could have just left it out because it's so annoying. On top of the normal playthrough, there's also an endless mode, and there's daily challenge mode, but this offers little more than bragging rights and a spot on the leaderboard. At least it gives you something to do after you've unlocked everything though, and you're tired of playing through the main game. I like how if you tiptoe into a room and then change your mind and turn around, you have some leeway before you get stuck into the battle. I like how if you accidentally wander into the boss room before you walk too far in, you can turn around and change your mind. I also like that after killing the boss, you can choose to go back and explore rooms you missed and don't proceed until you enter the portal. Small details like this add up and help the game greatly. I wouldn't recommend playing this game very heavily or frequently. It's fun to play once or twice a month, but playing too much will inevitably lead to feeling burnt out as the core gameplay is very repetitive. The graphics are not great, but they're not bad. Grab a friend and pass the controller on death. Level up perks and weapon variety makes each run feel unique in short bursts, but just fighting the same enemies over and over and over gets old quick. With just a handful of different enemies, it would help the game a lot. Hazard rooms offer a brief fun break from killing enemies, but they too feel repetitive, and there's not enough different types of these to fight off the repetition. I'd give this game a 6.5. It's a good game for a while, but it's not great in the long run. It feels too much like other games in the genre, like Tower of Guns. It plays kind of like Doom and reminds me a little bit of Gauntlet, but it offers a lot to collect. It needs a way to make the gameplay vary more than just having rooms with stronger enemies and the like. Even when enemies are stronger, you're still just running backwards while constantly firing. I'd still recommend playing it, I don't know, you might enjoy it. I just don't think its charm lasts very long, so I suggest savoring it and not blowing through it all at once. I didn't really feature it here, but the tips on the loading screens are actually kind of helpful. and you're able to save and quit pretty much at any point. I know that there's a lot of stuff that I missed. Capturing for this game is kind of hard because of its random nature. It's not like I can be like, oh, I go to this place and there's the boss. It's like the boss is a different place every time, so it was kind of hard to capture for, and it took me about 3 days to make this video. This is the first video I've ever made on Share Factory, so I'm getting used to it, and I've had to like start all over a bunch of times. Just finding time uninterrupted to record the dialogue has been hard, so if there's anything I missed, you could let me know in the comments, or if there's any game you think I should check out and make a video on, let me know. And it would really help if you would subscribe and like this video, and I would appreciate it a lot, and love you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.